Welcome back to the channel, where we dive deep into the most shocking scandals and untold stories behind reality TV. Today, we unravel a tale that shook the world of 90 Day Fiancé, a story of love, betrayal, courtroom drama, and a scandal that no one saw coming. Elizabeth, once seen as the devoted wife of Andrei, stunned fans and family alike when she announced she was pregnant. But the father wasn't Andrei. It was Alex, her secret boyfriend. What followed was a whirlwind of heartbreak, lawsuits, and a courtroom verdict that sent Elizabeth to prison. Yes, you heard that right. Elizabeth announced that she was pregnant, but the father was not Andrei. It was Alex. Alex was Elizabeth's secret boyfriend. For the past 5 months, Elizabeth had been secretly involved in a romantic relationship with Alex. Elizabeth clearly told Andrei, "I will not stay with you. I am carrying Alex's child, and I will only marry Alex." Hearing these words, Andrei was completely shattered. He could never have imagined such a betrayal. Later, Andrei filed a lawsuit against Elizabeth in court, accusing her of betrayal and financial fraud. Andrei claimed that since Elizabeth conceived Alex's child while still married to him, by law, Andrei would be considered the legal father of that child. He further claimed that Elizabeth had borrowed $65,000 from him, but when Andrei demanded the money back, Elizabeth denied ever taking it. Andrei claims were proven true in court. Based on the evidence and testimonies, the court ruled that Elizabeth had indeed broken the law and embezzled $65,000. According to the verdict, Elizabeth was sentenced to 5 months in prison. This isn't just gossip. This is a real-life drama that unfolded like a movie script. And in this 12-part deep dive, we'll explore every twist, every betrayal, and every shocking revelation. So grab your seat, because this is the story of Elizabeth, Andrei, and Alex, a scandal that redefined betrayal in reality TV history. Elizabeth sat across from Andrei in their living room, her hands trembling but her voice steady. The cameras of 90 Day Fiancé had captured countless arguments between them, but nothing compared to what was about to unfold. "Andrei," she said firmly, "I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant. But the father is not you. It's Alex." The silence that followed was deafening. Andrei's face froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. For a moment, he thought he had misheard her. But Elizabeth's expression left no room for doubt. She continued, her words cutting like a blade. "I will not stay with you. I am carrying Alex's child, and I will only marry Alex." Andrei's world shattered in that instant. He had sacrificed everything to build a life with Elizabeth, leaving his home country, enduring criticism from her family, and fighting to prove his love. And now, the woman he trusted most had confessed to a betrayal so deep it felt unreal. The cameras didn't need dramatic music. The raw silence was enough. Andrei's hands shook as he tried to process the words. "Elizabeth, how could you?" he whispered, his voice breaking. Elizabeth avoided his gaze. For 5 months, she had been secretly involved with Alex, a man she met through mutual friends. Their relationship had grown in the shadows, hidden from Andrei, hidden from the world. And now, the truth was out. Andrei's anger boiled beneath his heartbreak. "You lied to me. You lied to everyone. Do you even understand what you've done?" Elizabeth's response was cold, almost rehearsed. "I understand perfectly. I don't love you anymore. I love Alex, and this child will be his." The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was public. Word spread quickly among family and friends, and soon, the scandal became the talk of the town. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé were stunned. Social media exploded with reactions, memes, and debates. But for Andrei, this wasn't entertainment. It was his life crumbling before his eyes. That night, he sat alone, staring at the walls of their home. Every memory, every sacrifice, every promise now felt like a cruel joke. He replayed Elizabeth's words in his mind. "I will not stay with you. I am carrying Alex's child." The betrayal was complete. Andrei knew this wasn't just about love. It was about dignity, trust, and the destruction of everything he had built. And in that moment, a seed of determination grew inside him. If Elizabeth thought she could walk away without consequences, she was wrong. This was only the beginning of a battle that would soon move from the living room to the courtroom, a battle that would expose secrets, lies, and a scandal that would shock the world. Elizabeth's confession had left Andrei shattered, but the truth behind her words was even darker than he imagined. For 5 months, Elizabeth had been living a double life, one as the wife of Andrei Kastrovet, and another as the secret lover of Alex. It all began innocently enough. Elizabeth met Alex through mutual friends at a casual gathering. At first, their conversations were light, harmless, and friendly. But soon, those conversations grew longer, more intimate, and more dangerous. Alex was charming, attentive, and everything Elizabeth felt Andrei was not. Where Andrei was strict, Alex was playful. Where Andrei demanded loyalty, Alex offered freedom. Elizabeth found herself drawn to Alex's energy. He listened to her frustrations about Andrei, about the pressures of marriage, about the constant battles that seemed to define their relationship. And in Alex's arms, Elizabeth felt understood. What started as late-night texts quickly escalated into secret meetings. Behind closed doors, Elizabeth and Alex built a world of their own. They shared dinners, whispered promises, and planned futures that excluded Andrei entirely. Elizabeth told Alex things she never dared to admit to her husband, her doubts, her regrets, and her longing for a different life. But every secret has a cost. Elizabeth knew she was walking a dangerous path. She was still married to Andrei, still living under the same roof, still pretending to be the loyal wife. Yet, every time she returned home after meeting Alex, she carried the weight of betrayal in her heart. The affair grew bolder. Elizabeth began inventing excuses to leave the house, claiming she had errands or family obligations. Andrei, trusting her despite their rocky marriage, rarely questioned her. He believed her words, unaware that she was slipping into Alex's embrace while he stayed home, waiting. Then came the moment that changed everything. Elizabeth discovered she was pregnant. The news should have been joyous, but instead, it was terrifying. She knew instantly that the child was Alex's. The timeline was undeniable. Elizabeth wrestled with the truth for weeks. Should she hide it? Should she lie to Andrei and pretend the child was his? Or should she risk everything and confess? Her decision was brutal but clear. She would not live a lie. She would not raise Alex's child under Andrei's name. And so, she prepared herself for the confrontation that would destroy her marriage. When she finally told Andrei, the affair was no longer a secret. It was a bombshell. Andrei's heartbreak was only the beginning. The revelation of Alex's existence and Elizabeth's pregnancy turned their private betrayal into a public scandal. Friends whispered. Family members took sides. Social media lit up with speculation. Was Elizabeth justified in leaving a marriage she claimed was suffocating? Or was she simply selfish, betraying a man who had sacrificed everything for her? For Elizabeth, the answer didn't matter. She had chosen Alex. She had chosen her child. And she had chosen to burn every bridge behind her. But what Elizabeth didn't realize was that her choice would ignite a war far beyond love. Andrei wasn't just a broken husband. He was a man determined to fight back, not only for his dignity, but for justice. The secret affair was over. The scandal had begun. The night after Elizabeth's confession, Andrei sat alone in the dimly lit living room. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. Every second felt heavier than the last, as if time itself was mocking him. He replayed Elizabeth's words over and over in his mind. I will not stay with you. I am carrying Alex's child, and I will only marry Alex. Each repetition cut deeper, like a wound that refused to heal. Andrei had always believed that love could withstand hardship. He had left his home country, Moldova, to build a life in America with Elizabeth. He endured criticism from her family, who doubted his intentions. He fought against stereotypes, proving that he wasn't with Elizabeth for money or a green card. He worked tirelessly to provide, to protect, to love. And now, all of it had collapsed in a single moment. The betrayal wasn't just personal, It was public. Elizabeth's announcement spread quickly among friends, family, and eventually fans of 90 Day Fiancé. Social media erupted with shock and speculation. Some sympathized with Andrei, calling Elizabeth's actions unforgivable. Others accused Andrei of being too controlling, suggesting Elizabeth had sought freedom in Alex's arms. But none of those voices mattered to Andrei. What mattered was the hollow ache in his chest, the emptiness in his home, and the realization that the woman he trusted most had chosen another man. He wandered through the house that night, staring at the photographs on the walls. Smiling faces, happy moments, promises of forever, all now tainted by betrayal. He picked up a framed photo of their wedding day. Elizabeth's smile was radiant, her eyes filled with hope. Andrei's own face reflected pride and love. He smashed the frame against the floor, unable to bear the sight. Anger surged through him, but it was quickly drowned by despair. He collapsed onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. Tears streamed down his cheeks, though he tried to fight them back. For a man who prided himself on strength, vulnerability felt like defeat. Yet, beneath the heartbreak, a spark of determination flickered. Andrei realized that Elizabeth's betrayal wasn't just emotional. It carried consequences. She was still his wife. By law, the child she carried could be considered his. And if Elizabeth thought she could walk away without accountability, she was mistaken. The next morning, Andrei confided in a close friend. "She betrayed me," he said, his voice trembling. "But I will not let her destroy me. I will fight back. I will take this to court." His friend tried to console him, but Andrei's mind was already racing. He thought about the sacrifices he had made, the money he had lent Elizabeth, the trust she had shattered. He remembered the $65,000 she had borrowed, money she now denied ever taking. For Andrei, this was no longer just about love. It was about justice. It was about reclaiming his dignity. It was about proving that betrayal had consequences. As the days passed, Andrei's heartbreak hardened into resolve. He began gathering evidence, preparing himself for the battle ahead. The man who had once been broken was now ready to fight. Elizabeth had chosen Alex, but Andrei would choose the law, and in the courtroom, he would expose the truth. The scandal didn't remain confined to Elizabeth and Andrei's home. Once the truth spilled out, it spread like wildfire through their families, igniting shock, anger, and bitter divisions. Elizabeth's family had always been skeptical of Andrei. From the very beginning of their relationship on 90 Day Fiancé, her relatives questioned his motives. They accused him of being controlling, too strict, and unwilling to adapt to their way of life. For years, Elizabeth defended him, insisting that he was misunderstood. But now, with her confession, her family felt vindicated. Her sister was the first to speak out. "We told you, Elizabeth. We warned you about him. He was never right for you. Maybe Alex is the man you were meant to be with." But not everyone in Elizabeth's family supported her decision. Her father, who had once tried to guide her through the ups and downs of marriage, was furious. "You betrayed your vows, Elizabeth. You betrayed your husband. This isn't about who's right or wrong anymore. It's about the choices you made, and those choices will have consequences." The family gatherings that once brought laughter now turned into heated debates. Some relatives sided with Elizabeth, arguing that she had the right to pursue happiness, even if it meant breaking her marriage. Others stood firmly with Andrei, condemning Elizabeth's actions as selfish and destructive. Meanwhile, Andrei's circle in Moldova reacted with outrage. His parents, who had welcomed Elizabeth into their home during visits, felt humiliated. "She dishonored our son," his mother said, tears streaming down her face. "She made promises before God and broke them." Andrei's friends, too, rallied behind him. They saw Elizabeth's betrayal not just as a personal failure, but as a public humiliation for Andrei. "He gave up everything for her," one friend remarked, "and this is how she repays him, with lies and another man's child." The scandal quickly became a family war. Elizabeth's relatives accused Andrei of being too rigid, too demanding, and driving her into Alex's arms. Andrei's family countered by calling Elizabeth deceitful, manipulative, and ungrateful. Social media amplified the chaos. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé dissected every detail, creating hashtags, memes, and endless debates. Some defended Elizabeth, claiming she was brave for choosing love over obligation. Others condemned her, labeling her a traitor and fraud. But behind the noise, the families themselves were torn apart. Elizabeth's father refused to speak to her for weeks. Andrei's parents urged him to return to Moldova, to leave America and start fresh. Elizabeth's siblings argued among themselves, some cutting ties with her entirely. The emotional fallout was devastating. What had begun as a private affair now became a public scandal, with families caught in the crossfire. Every phone call, every family dinner, every holiday gathering was poisoned by the betrayal. Andrei, though broken, found strength in the support of his family. Their outrage fueled his determination to fight back. Elizabeth, on the other hand, felt isolated. Though Alex stood by her side, the disapproval from her father and her siblings weighed heavily. The scandal wasn't just about Elizabeth and Andrei anymore. It was about two families, two cultures, and two worlds colliding in the aftermath of betrayal. And as the tension grew, one thing became clear. This battle would not be settled in living rooms or family dinners. It would be settled in court. The scandal had already torn apart two families. But Andrei knew that emotional outrage alone would not bring justice. Betrayal was one thing. Financial fraud was another. Andrei believed Elizabeth had not only broken his heart, but also stolen from him. And so, he made a decision that would change the course of their lives forever. He would take her to court. The paperwork was filed swiftly. Andrei's lawsuit accused Elizabeth of two devastating charges: betrayal of marital trust and financial fraud. He claimed that Elizabeth had borrowed $65,000 from him during their marriage, promising to repay it, but had since denied ever taking the money. To Andrei, this wasn't just about love. It was about dignity, accountability, and the law. The courtroom became the new stage for their drama. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé watched in disbelief as the scandal moved from reality TV into real legal proceedings. Headlines screamed, "Elizabeth and Andrei's marriage implodes in courtroom showdown." On the day of the first hearing, Andrei walked into the courthouse with a stern expression. His suit was crisp, his posture rigid, but his eyes betrayed the pain he carried. He wasn't just a man seeking justice, he was a husband demanding recognition of his suffering. Elizabeth arrived separately, accompanied by Alex. Her presence with her new lover was a statement in itself. She had chosen her side, and she wasn't afraid to show it. The sight of Alex standing beside her fueled Andrei's anger, but he remained composed. He knew the courtroom was not a place for emotions, it was a place for evidence. The judge listened carefully as Andrei's lawyer laid out the case. They presented documents, bank records, and testimonies that pointed to Elizabeth's financial dealings. The lawyer argued that Elizabeth had manipulated Andrei, borrowing money under false pretenses, and then abandoning him once she had secured her relationship with Alex. Elizabeth's defense was equally fierce. Her lawyer claimed that the accusations were exaggerated, that the $65,000 was never a loan, but rather marital support, money spent during their life together. Elizabeth herself denied ever promising repayment. She insisted that Andrei was using the lawsuit as revenge, a way to punish her for leaving him. The tension in the courtroom was palpable. Every word, every piece of evidence, every glance between Elizabeth and Andrei carried the weight of betrayal. The audience, both in the courtroom and online, was captivated. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was a war of love, lies, and loyalty. Andrei's testimony was emotional. He spoke about the sacrifices he had made, the trust he had given, and the devastation of discovering Elizabeth's affair. His voice cracked as he described the moment she confessed her pregnancy. "She destroyed me," he said, his eyes fixed on the judge. "And now, she denies the money she took. I cannot let this go unanswered." Elizabeth, in turn, remained defiant. She admitted to the affair, but refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing in financial matters. "I chose Alex because I love him," she declared. "Andrei cannot accept that. This lawsuit is his way of controlling me even after I've left him." The judge listened, the lawyers argued, and the families watched in silence. The battle lines were drawn. For Andrei, the courtroom was his chance at redemption. For Elizabeth, it was her fight for freedom. And for Alex, it was proof that he stood by Elizabeth no matter the cost. The courtroom battle had begun, and the verdict would decide not only their futures, but also the legacy of their scandal. As the courtroom battle intensified, a shocking twist emerged, one that neither Elizabeth nor Alex had fully anticipated. According to the law, because Elizabeth was still legally married to Andrei at the time of her pregnancy, the child she carried would be considered Andrei's in the eyes of the court. This revelation sent shockwaves through the proceedings. For Andrei, it was both a weapon and a burden. He had no desire to raise a child that wasn't his, yet the law gave him rights and responsibilities he hadn't asked for. For Elizabeth, it was a nightmare. She had chosen Alex, confessed her love for him, and declared her intention to marry him. But now, the law threatened to tie her unborn child to the man she had rejected. The judge explained the situation clearly. By statute, the husband is presumed to be the legal father of any child conceived during the marriage. Unless proven otherwise, Mr. Castrovet is legally recognized as the father. Andrei's lawyer seized the opportunity. Your Honor, this proves the depth of Elizabeth's betrayal. Not only did she deceive my client emotionally and financially, but she has now placed him in a position where he is legally bound to a child that is not his. This is fraud at the highest level. Elizabeth's defense scrambled to counter. Her lawyer argued that the law was outdated, that modern DNA testing should determine paternity, not marital status. This child belongs to Alex, the lawyer insisted. Elizabeth has been transparent about that. To force Andrei into legal fatherhood is unjust. But the law was clear, and precedent was on Andrei's side. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the debate unfolded. Elizabeth sat pale and shaken, clutching Alex's hand. Alex himself looked furious. His jaw clenched as he listened to arguments that threatened to erase his role as the father of his own child. For Andrei, the irony was cruel. He had been betrayed, humiliated, and abandoned, yet now, the law gave him leverage. He didn't want the child, but he wanted justice. And if being declared the legal father strengthened his case against Elizabeth, he would use it. Outside the courtroom, the revelation sparked heated discussions among fans and family. Elizabeth's relatives were stunned. How can they say Andrei is the father when everyone knows it's Alex? Her sister exclaimed. Andrei's family, however, saw it as divine justice. She cannot escape the consequences, his mother said firmly. The law is on our son's side. Social media exploded with debates. Some argued that the law was archaic, unfairly binding men to children they hadn't fathered. Others insisted that Elizabeth's actions had created this mess, and she had no right to complain. Memes circulated, headlines screamed, and the scandal grew even larger. Inside Elizabeth's mind, panic set in. She had envisioned a future with Alex, raising their child together, free from Andrei's shadow. But now, the law threatened to entangle Andrei in their lives forever. The thought of her child being legally tied to the man she had betrayed filled her with dread. Andrei, meanwhile, felt a grim satisfaction. He hadn't asked for this role, but if the law gave him power, he would wield it. She thought she could walk away, he told his lawyer. But she cannot escape. Not from me. Not from the law. The legal father debate wasn't just a technicality. It was a turning point. A moment that transformed the case from a battle of betrayal into a war of identity, rights, and the future of an unborn child. As the courtroom drama unfolded, one accusation stood out above all others: the missing $65,000. For Andrei, this wasn't just about betrayal of love, it was about betrayal of trust in the most tangible way possible. Money, after all, beats a trail. Andrei was determined to prove that Elizabeth had taken it, used it, and then denied it. The origins of the money went back months before Elizabeth's confession. Andrei claimed that Elizabeth had approached him during a difficult period, saying she needed financial support for business opportunities and family expenses. Trusting her as his wife, Andrei agreed. He transferred the funds in increments, believing her promises that it was a temporary loan. But when the marriage collapsed, so did Elizabeth's story. She denied ever borrowing the money. That was marital support, she argued. It was never a loan. Andrei is twisting the truth to make me look guilty. The courtroom buzzed with tension as lawyers debated the issue. Andrei's attorney presented bank records showing transfers from Andrei's accounts to Elizabeth's. They argued that the transactions were clearly loans, not gifts, and that Elizabeth had promised repayment. Witnesses were called, friends who recalled Elizabeth mentioning financial struggles, and even text messages where she hinted at needing temporary help. Elizabeth's defense countered fiercely. Her lawyer insisted that the money was part of their shared marital finances, not a separate loan. Husbands and wives support each other financially, the lawyer argued. This was no different. Andrei is weaponizing money to punish Elizabeth for leaving him. But the evidence began to pile up against Elizabeth. Screenshots of conversations revealed her asking Andrei for urgent funds and promising to return it soon. One message in particular stood out. "I'll pay you back once things settle." The judge leaned forward, scrutinizing the documents. The weight of proof was undeniable. Elizabeth's denials began to sound hollow in the face of hard evidence. Outside the courtroom, the $65,000 mystery became a focal point for fans and family alike. Elizabeth's relatives were divided. Some believed her, insisting that Andrei was exaggerating. Others admitted that the evidence looked damning. Andrei's family, meanwhile, saw it as the ultimate betrayal. "She didn't just break his heart," his father said. "She stole from him." Social media erupted with theories. Was Elizabeth lying to protect herself? Or was Andrei manipulating the narrative to gain sympathy? Hashtags like 65K scandal and Elizabeth fraud trended online, turning the financial dispute into a public spectacle. For Elizabeth, the pressure was unbearable. She maintained her innocence, but the walls were closing in. Alex tried to reassure her, but even he couldn't ignore the mounting evidence. The thought of Elizabeth being branded not just as unfaithful, but also as a fraud weighed heavily on their relationship. Andrei, on the other hand, felt vindicated. Every piece of evidence strengthened his case. She thought she could deny it, he told his lawyer. But the truth always comes out. The $65,000 mystery wasn't just about money. It was about trust, promises, and the collapse of a marriage built on lies. And as the courtroom battle raged on, it became clear that this financial scandal would play a decisive role in Elizabeth's fate. The question was no longer whether Elizabeth had betrayed Andrei emotionally. The question was whether she had broken the law. The courtroom had already been shaken by the $65,000 mystery, but the most explosive moment was yet to come. As the hearings progressed, the judge demanded hard proof. Not just accusations, not just emotional testimonies, but undeniable evidence. Andrei's legal team was ready. One by one, documents, messages, and testimonies were brought forward. Each piece of evidence chipped away at Elizabeth's defense, painting a picture of deception that was impossible to ignore. The first bombshell came in the form of text messages. Andrei's lawyer presented a series of screenshots showing Elizabeth asking for money. In one message, she wrote, "I'll pay you back once things settle. Please trust me." Another read, "I need this urgently. I promise it's temporary." Elizabeth's face turned pale as the texts were read aloud. She had denied ever borrowing money, but the words on the screen told a different story. The courtroom gasped, and even Alex shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Next came the bank records. Andrei's attorney displayed transaction histories showing large sums transferred from Andrei's accounts directly to Elizabeth's. The amounts matched the timeline of her requests. The evidence was clear. The money had been given, and Elizabeth had promised repayment. But the most damning testimony came from a mutual friend. Called to the stand, the witness recalled a conversation with Elizabeth during the early stages of her affair with Alex. "She told me she was stressed about money," the friend testified. "She said Andrei had lent her a large amount and that she would pay him back once she was stable. She even joked that Alex didn't know about it." The courtroom fell silent. Elizabeth's denial crumbled under the weight of her own words. Her lawyer tried to fight back, arguing that the texts were taken out of context, that the bank transfers were marital expenses, and that the witness was unreliable. But the judge wasn't convinced. The evidence was too consistent, too detailed, too damning. Elizabeth sat frozen, her hands trembling. Alex leaned in to whisper reassurance, but his own confidence seemed shaken. The scandal was no longer just about betrayal of love. It was about lies, money, and the collapse of credibility. Outside the courtroom, the revelation spread like wildfire. News outlets reported on the texts, the bank records, and the witness testimony. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé dissected every detail, turning the evidence into viral content. Memes mocked Elizabeth's denials, while hashtags like evidence exposed and Elizabeth lies trended across social media. Elizabeth's family was devastated. Her father, who had already condemned her actions, now felt humiliated. She lied to all of us, he said bitterly. She betrayed not just Andrei, but everyone who trusted her. Andrei's family, meanwhile, felt vindicated. The truth is out, his mother declared. She cannot escape justice. For Elizabeth, the walls were closing in. Every attempt to defend herself was met with hard proof. Every denial was shattered by documents and testimonies. The image she had tried to protect, of a woman choosing love over obligation, was now overshadowed by the reality of fraud and deceit. The evidence uncovered didn't just strengthen Andrei's case. It sealed Elizabeth's fate. The judge now had everything needed to deliver a verdict that would change her life forever. The scandal had reached its peak. The lies were exposed, and the truth stood undeniable. The courtroom had become a battlefield of emotions, evidence, and shattered trust. Weeks of hearings, testimonies, and arguments had led to this moment, the day of the verdict. Everyone knew that whatever the judge decided would change Elizabeth's life forever. The atmosphere was tense. Andrei sat rigidly at the plaintiff's table, his eyes fixed on the judge. His family had flown in to support him, their presence a reminder of the sacrifices he had made and the humiliation he had endured. Elizabeth sat across the room, pale and exhausted, clutching Alex's hand. Her once defiant posture had softened into nervous anticipation. The judge began by summarizing the case. This court has heard extensive testimony regarding allegations of betrayal, financial fraud, and the legal implications of paternity. The evidence presented has been thorough, and the arguments have been compelling. It is now the duty of this court to deliver a fair and just verdict. The silence was deafening as the judge continued. Regarding the matter of financial fraud, the court finds that the plaintiff, Mr. Castrovet, has provided sufficient evidence to prove that the defendant, Mrs. Elizabeth Castrovet, borrowed $65,000 under the pretense of repayment. The text messages, bank records, and witness testimony confirm this. The defendant's denial is inconsistent with the evidence. Therefore, the court rules in favor of the plaintiff. Elizabeth's face crumbled. Her lawyer tried to maintain composure, but the weight of the ruling was undeniable. The judge paused, then addressed the issue of paternity. By law, as Mrs. Castrovet was married to Mr. Castrovet at the time of conception, the child is legally presumed to be his. While modern DNA testing may later establish biological paternity, the current legal framework recognizes Mr. Castrovet as the father until proven otherwise. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Alex's grip on Elizabeth's hand tightened, his jaw clenched in fury. Andrei's expression remained stoic, though inside he felt a grim satisfaction. Finally, the judge delivered the sentence. Based on the evidence of financial fraud and the severity of the betrayal, this court hereby sentences Mrs. Elizabeth Castrovet to 5 months in prison. She is also ordered to repay the sum of $65,000 to Mr. Castrovet. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Elizabeth's eyes widened in disbelief. Prison. The reality of her actions had come crashing down. She turned to Alex, tears streaming down her face. I can't go to prison," she whispered. Alex tried to console her, but his own anger boiled over. He glared at Andrei, as if blaming him for everything. But the truth was undeniable. The evidence had spoken, and the court had ruled. Andrei closed his eyes, exhaling deeply. For months, he had lived in the shadow of betrayal. Now, justice had been served. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave him closure. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Reporters rushed to file stories, fans debated online, and families reacted with shock. Elizabeth's father shook his head in disappointment, while Andrei's mother wept with relief. Elizabeth was led away in handcuffs, her once proud image shattered. The cameras captured every moment, turning her downfall into a spectacle. The verdict was final. The scandal had reached its climax, and Elizabeth's fate was sealed. The clang of the prison gates echoed like a final judgment. Elizabeth, once a familiar face on 90 Day Fiancé, now walked into a world stripped of glamour, stripped of freedom. Her sentence, 5 months behind bars, had begun. For Elizabeth, the transition was brutal. The woman who once lived in front of cameras, surrounded by family drama and reality TV fame, now found herself in a cold, unforgiving environment. The walls were gray, the routine strict, and the silence heavy. Every step reminded her that she was no longer in control. Her first days were filled with shock. She struggled to adjust to the rigid schedule, early wake-ups, mandatory chores, and the constant presence of guards. Meals were plain, conversations were guarded, and privacy was non-existent. Elizabeth, who had once thrived on attention and freedom, now felt invisible. Inside prison, whispers followed her. Other inmates recognized her from television. Some mocked her downfall, calling her the reality star fraud. Others were curious, asking about her scandal with Andrei and Alex. Elizabeth tried to ignore them, but the humiliation was constant. Nights were the hardest. Alone in her cell, Elizabeth replayed the events that had led her here. The secret affair, the pregnancy, the courtroom battles, the damning evidence. All of it weighed on her like chains. She thought of Alex, of the child she carried, and of the future that seemed uncertain. Would Alex wait for her? Would her family ever forgive her? Would the world ever see her as more than a scandal? Letters from the outside offered little comfort. Alex wrote often, promising his love and loyalty. "We'll get through this," he assured her. But Elizabeth knew that prison changed people. Distance, time, and shame could erode even the strongest bonds. Her father's letters were harsher. He reminded her of the choices she had made, the trust she had broken, and the disappointment she had caused. Each word cut deeper than the prison walls themselves. Meanwhile, Andrei followed the news of her imprisonment with grim satisfaction. For him, Elizabeth's downfall was justice served. He didn't celebrate, but he felt closure. The woman who had betrayed him was now facing the consequences of her actions. Inside prison, Elizabeth began to reflect. She realized that her affair with Alex had not only destroyed her marriage, but also her reputation, her finances, and her freedom. What had once seemed like a romantic escape now felt like a chain dragging her deeper into despair. Yet, amidst the darkness, Elizabeth found moments of resilience. She joined a small group of inmates in daily routines, learning to adapt to the harsh environment. She began journaling, writing about her mistakes, her regrets, and her hopes for redemption. In those pages, she confronted the truth. She had betrayed Andrei, deceived her family, and lied to herself. Her pregnancy added another layer of complexity. Elizabeth worried constantly about her child. Would the baby be born while she was still behind bars? Would Alex be allowed to visit? Would the child grow up knowing the scandal that had defined its mother's life? 5 months might have seemed short to outsiders, but for Elizabeth, each day felt like an eternity. Prison wasn't just punishment, it was a mirror, forcing her to face the consequences of her choices. Elizabeth behind bars was no longer the reality star, no longer the defiant wife, no longer the woman who chose Alex over Andrei. She was simply a prisoner, living with the weight of betrayal and the hope that someday, somehow, she could rebuild her life. For Andrei Castrovet, the verdict had brought justice, but not peace. Elizabeth was behind bars, the $65,000 fraud exposed, and the scandal laid bare for the world to see. Yet, even with the court ruling in his favor, Andrei's life felt hollow. Betrayal leaves scars that no verdict can erase. In the weeks following Elizabeth's imprisonment, Andrei tried to rebuild himself. He returned to his routines, focusing on work and family. But the shadow of the scandal lingered. Everywhere he went, whispers followed. Strangers recognized him from 90 Day Fiancé, not as the devoted husband he once was, but as the man whose wife had betrayed him on national television. At first, Andrei withdrew from the world. He avoided social gatherings, ignored phone calls, and spent long nights alone. The pain of Elizabeth's words, "I will not stay with you. I am carrying Alex's child," echoed endlessly in his mind. He wondered if he had failed as a husband, if his strictness and pride had driven her away. But slowly, Andrei began to realize that redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about reclaiming his dignity and building a future beyond betrayal. His family became his anchor. His parents in Moldova reminded him of his strength, urging him to rise above the scandal. "You are not defined by her choices," his father told him. "You are defined by how you move forward." Andrei took those words to heart. He began to focus on self-improvement, channeling his pain into determination. He joined a local fitness group, pushing his body to its limits as a way to release his anger. He started attending community events, slowly reintroducing himself to the world not as a victim, but as a survivor. Financially, the court's ruling gave him stability. The repayment of the $65,000 meant he could rebuild his savings, invest in his future, and regain control of his life. But emotionally, the journey was harder. Trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. Andrei struggled with loneliness. Nights were quiet, mornings felt empty, and the absence of Elizabeth, even in betrayal, left a void. He wondered if he would ever find love again, if he could ever trust another woman with his heart. Yet, amidst the pain, Andrei found purpose. He began speaking openly about betrayal, resilience, and the importance of accountability. Friends encouraged him to share his story, and soon, he became a voice for others who had faced similar heartbreak. His words resonated. Betrayal does not destroy you, it tests you, and if you rise, you become stronger than you ever imagined. Social media, once a source of humiliation, became a platform for his redemption. Fans who had pitied him now admired his strength. Messages poured in from people around the world, thanking him for his honesty and courage. Andrei's struggle for redemption was not about revenge. It was about healing, about proving to himself and to the world that he could survive the deepest betrayal and still stand tall. Elizabeth's choices had shattered his marriage, but they had not shattered his spirit. Andrei was scarred, yes, but he was also stronger. The man who had once been broken was now rebuilding, and though the road ahead was uncertain, Andrei knew one thing: redemption was not a destination, it was a journey, and he was ready to walk it. The courtroom verdict had been delivered. Elizabeth had served her sentence, and Andrei had begun his journey toward redemption. Yet, even after the prison gates closed behind her and the scandal faded from headlines, the story of Elizabeth, Andrei, and Alex remained unfinished. Elizabeth's release from prison was quiet, almost hidden from the public eye. She walked out with Alex by her side, but the world she returned to was not the same. Her reputation had been shattered, her family ties strained, and her name forever linked to betrayal and fraud. Though Alex remained loyal, their relationship carried the weight of everything that had happened. The child, born during Elizabeth's sentence, became the center of lingering questions. Legally, Andrei was still recognized as the father until DNA testing could prove otherwise. This technicality created tension between Alex and Andrei, as both men struggled with the implications. Alex wanted recognition as the biological father, while Andrei wanted distance from a child that symbolized betrayal. Elizabeth's family remained divided. Her father, though disappointed, eventually softened, acknowledging that she had paid her debt to society. But trust was not easily rebuilt. Her siblings remained skeptical, some refusing to forgive her actions. Family gatherings were tense, overshadowed by the scandal that had torn them apart. Andrei, meanwhile, continued his path of rebuilding. He focused on work, family, and personal growth, but the scars of betrayal lingered. Though he had won in court, he often wondered if victory had truly brought peace. Was justice enough to heal a broken heart? Or was redemption something deeper, something that could only come with time? Alex faced his own challenges. Though he had stood by Elizabeth, he now carried the burden of being seen as the man who destroyed a marriage. Friends questioned his choices, critics labeled him opportunistic, and the shadow of the scandal followed him wherever he went. His love for Elizabeth was real, but the world around them doubted it. The public, too, remained fascinated. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé debated endlessly. Was Elizabeth a victim of a controlling marriage, or was she simply selfish? Was Andrei a hero for fighting back, or a man consumed by revenge? Was Alex truly in love, or just a player in a scandalous drama? Years later, the story still echoed. Elizabeth's prison sentence became a cautionary tale. Andrei's resilience, an example of survival, and Alex's loyalty a subject of debate. The scandal had ended, but the questions remained. Because in the end, betrayal is not just about the act itself, it's about the aftermath. The wounds that linger, the families that fracture, and the futures forever altered. And so, the story of Elizabeth, Andrei, and Alex closes with more questions than answers. Was Elizabeth truly in love with Alex, or was she escaping a marriage she could no longer endure? Did Andrei find redemption, or will betrayal haunt him forever? Will Elizabeth's child grow up defined by scandal, or will the next generation write a new story? And perhaps the biggest question of all, in the battle between love, loyalty, and law, who really won? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Was justice served? Or was this simply another chapter in a never-ending drama? The truth may be written in court records, but the story lives on in the hearts of those who watched it unfold. More update: 90 Day Fiancé. Elizabeth says Andrei's ultimatum is really disrespectful. Elizabeth's secret acting past revealed. Fans say it explains everything. And Andrei pays tribute to Libby's late dad Chuck after she shared the tragic news. Elizabeth Castrovet slams fake news about the passing of her late dad Chuck. It's shameful. I will explain everything. It would appear that Andrei and Elizabeth, the stars of 90 Day Fiancé, are experiencing some difficulties in their relationship. Elizabeth Libby had previously said that her husband had requested a divorce. Things are really tense between the couple, she added. Lauren, and she got into a furious disagreement in that same show. Lily comments that Andrei's ultimatum is disrespectful in the next episode of The Tell-All, when the host seeks her opinion on the matter. This ultimatum is puzzling. What else did Libby and Andrei have to say? Read on to discover the answer. Elizabeth startled viewers in the last episode of 90 Day Fiancé, happily ever after, by revealing that Andrei had requested a divorce. Lauren, her ex-best friend, overheard her mention that her marriage had taken a turn for the worse. Lauren was also informed that she was similarly distressed by her. Disputes broke out between Lauren and Andrei/Alexei shortly thereafter when they were playing table tennis. As tensions rose, the lads heard them immediately. Libby was hurt by Lauren and Andrei, according to Lauren. The revelation that Andrei had broached the subject of divorce with Libby just the week before caused her to break down in tears. Elizabeth and the issue were already out of Lauren's hands, but she attempted to reassure her ex-best friend nevertheless. It seems like they were still interested in one another in a different discussion. As soon as everyone finds out that Andrei wants to divorce Elizabeth, the next 90 Day Fiancé, ATA tell-all is going to be explosive. The host asks Libby about her feelings after Andrei boasts about giving her an ultimatum in a sneak peek video of the program that 90 Day Fiancé _Alexa uploaded. She says it's quite rude, in her opinion. It was as if everyone was talking about their divorce. In addition, she mentioned that she made it clear when he said that she will not leave, but he is free to depart if he wants to. She went on to say, a lot, in response to her castmate's question about her affection for Andrei. As for how it feels to hear the news of a divorce from a loved one, her co-star pondered the same question. I feel like I don't know him at all, Libby continued. It hurts when she doesn't listen, Andrei continued, attempting to cut her off. She is human, after all, and everyone has the right to their own opinion, as another cast member pointed out to him. She has strong opinions, as you can see, he responded swiftly. Another person asked if her opinions really matter to him. He wanted to add that he wants to move when another co-star brought up the ultimatum. It was brought to everyone's attention on site that Andrei wanted Libby to do his bidding. The way Andrei treated Elizabeth has plainly upset everyone. Andrei is emotionally abusing her, remarked one contributor. His toxic and depleting nature is a major red sign, according to another. Andrei is the worst, remarked a third critic. Share your thoughts about Andrei and Elizabeth with us below. Elizabeth's secret acting past revealed. Fans say it explains everything. Viewers of 90 Day Fiancé have long questioned Elizabeth's uncanny ability to convey emotion with such a natural and effortless manner. But at last, the pieces are falling into place. The fans have finally caught Libby red-handed with a juicy little secret that she has apparently been keeping from everyone. With the recent revelation of Elizabeth's hidden acting history, the audience can finally make sense of her every dramatic pause, tear, and picture-perfect reaction. Now they're sure that Libby's trained version was responsible for everything. Is that so? Just what is going on here? Before the truth hit, where was her job? TV industry? Because this is a very contentious topic, you should read on to find out more. Since they have appeared in multiple consecutive seasons of 90 Day Fiancé, Libby and Andrei have reaped substantial financial benefits from their involvement with the program. In any case, it's not like they don't have actual jobs. Rumor has it that Elizabeth isn't just a social media influencer, she's also a real estate agent. A YouTube channel named Ellie's World is also owned by Libby. Andrei, who recently became a citizen, is employed by his father-in-law. He has been doing his best to get by as a real estate agent as well. This leads many to believe that their combined wealth is close to $1 million. As one of the 90 Day Fiancé fans was rewatching Homeland, Elizabeth Pothast was unexpectedly seen. Yes, Libby has been an actress for quite some time, and audiences have always been amazed by her perfect expressions. Libby was bursting with character energy in a screenshot shared by the devoted fan on Reddit. "Girl, what are you doing here?" the OP exclaimed in shock. And that's not all either. As far as anyone can tell, Libby has had supporting parts in films like Secrets in the Snow. Her husband, Andrei, was obviously a newcomer to the spotlight, but she was no stranger to cameras either. Andrei is really Elizabeth's handler, and Elizabeth has been undercover the entire time, the OP asserted. It seems like fans have been accusing Andrei of manipulating his wife's emotions for a long time. However, it appears that Libby was secretly carrying out the task. The big question, though, is how she got these parts in the first place. It was uncovered by a Reddit user that Libby's mom is a talent agent. Yeah, you heard it correctly. Right there in her own home was her complete potential source. Now it all becomes sense. A commenter went so far as to say that ads and shows will follow any household with even one talent agent. I have to watch Homeland again, lol, because Elizabeth ruined that scene for me. It's quite funny, actually. An additional commenter said, all reality aspirants want to make it on the slightly bigger screen and sell their souls for the chance. Since then, the public has come to assume that Libby has been playing the part. Are you in agreement? Please inform us in the space provided. Andrei pays tribute to Libby's late dad Chuck after she shared the tragic news. Andrei from 90 Day Fiancé just paid tribute to his father-in-law Chuck on social media after Libby spoke out about his tragic death. The daughter was sad when her dad died at 65. She also wrote a sad post to let her admirers know about the state of her family right now. Fans were told by Chuck in 2017 that he needed urgent prayers because he was about to have surgery. This was after he had cancer. He has had to deal with a number of health problems throughout the years. This time, he got a hernia, which made the surgery take 8 hours. His time with the franchise has been wonderful. He was in charge of several spin-offs since he was courageous and sure of himself. What did Andrei say about Chuck, who died? How is he dealing with Libby? Libby was having a hard time because Chuck's health was getting worse, and his daughter heard things about him. She went on Instagram story to call out the person who spread the news that her dad is already deceased. The 90-day fiancé star told her fans and followers to wait for the family's formal announcement since it would confirm everything. She told everyone not to pay heed to fake news till then. Some publications and broadcasts did say that Chuck had died before Libby told everyone the sad news. She was so upset that she requested for privacy. In her message, the reality star said she was horrified and offended. Later, she posted a screenshot of an article from People magazine and said she would sue them. She urged the outlet to take down the piece it had published right away. In a new Instagram photo he made only for Chuck, Andrei finally said anything about him. He said kind things about his late father-in-law and that they had a good relationship. He thought the 90-day fiancé had portrayed some of the truth about their disagreements, but in real life, they were closest friends. Andrei said it was hard for him to sit in front of the camera and talk about Chuck, but he would love to remember him. He said that a man like Libby's dad was very important to their family. He said that Chuck liked filming for all of his TV show appearances. People sent him condolences because they knew he was a fan of the franchise. Fans thought that Andrei really summed up Chuck because he wasn't being snarky when he talked about him. Many people have loved his honest homage. A lot of the time Chuck has been on TV, there has been drama and tension between him and Andrei. Andrei couldn't help but praise Chuck for his enthusiasm and vitality, which are two more things that he liked about him. The son-in-law had a deep bond that goes beyond any reality TV show. A lot of people would remember how he would tell jokes to make the actors and staff laugh when he came with Libby. He used to care about the people around him. Elizabeth Castrovet slams fake news about the passing of her late dad Chuck. It's shameful. Elizabeth Castrovet, a star of 90-Day Fiancé, can't believe how many false reports there are about her father Chuck's death. She called out well-known news organizations for spreading misleading information when she was in a lot of pain. The diva of TLC wrote a long statement on Instagram to call out publications that made up explanations for her father's death. Elizabeth and her whole family have been sad about the loss of their treasured family member. After she told her followers on social media the sad news, they couldn't believe it. News about the reality TV star's father's untimely death quickly spread over the internet. But Libby seems very unhappy with how the news has been covering her father's death. What truly took place? Why is she calling out the magazines? Elizabeth Castrovet, a star of 90-Day Fiancé, is going through the hardest time of her life right now. In her most recent Instagram post, she talked about the sad news that her dad, Chuck, had died. The star of the reality show posted a picture of herself with her parents, husband, and kids from a long time ago. Libby said, 2 weeks ago, tragedy struck our family, and it has left us completely broken. She said that her dad had died, and that they were trying to figure out how to live without him. TV season and spoilers said that the TLC star didn't say anything about how her dad died. Chuck had surgery a few months ago to fix his hernia. Some news sources, on the other hand, said that the reality TV star died of brain cancer. Elizabeth Castrovet has been entirely broken since her father, Chuck Pothast, died. She never thought her dad would die so soon. The 90-Day Fiancé star asked for privacy so they could grieve in peace. Libby is really upset that phony news is spreading online. She posted a narrative on Instagram to put an end to all the talk about her dad's death. The reality TV star added, "Any articles or reports that are going around online are completely false until my family and I make an official statement about my dad." Libby said she was really humiliated and horrified. She said it was beyond disappointing to see news outlets disseminating false information at such a delicate moment. The star of the reality show uploaded a picture of the People magazine story and said they would sue them. Libby urged the publication to take down the content, or she would go ahead and bring charges against them. The reality TV star posted another Instagram story to talk about how awful it was to wake up to funny rumors about her dead father. But Elizabeth made it obvious that she won't remain quiet this time. Fans felt sorry for her because she was going through hard times. They also told her to sue everyone who was spreading false information online. Fans know what the 90-day Fiance star must be going through after the terrible loss. They couldn't believe how many individuals were spreading false information about Chuck's death. He has also always been the most popular celebrity since he is gentle and nice. What do you think about this? Please tell us what you think below. No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.